2 area schools have earned berths in basketball state tournaments, while another has captured a state title. Area athletes were also recently crowned state champions for indoor track. We have all of this, plus our Athlete of the Week and more, coming up on this week's Varsity 360, and it starts right now. Hi there folks, Mark Coleman here from V2SN, welcoming you to the March 3rd, 2014 installment of Varsity 360, where we look at the week's top stories in Fredericksburg area high school sports. Glad that you found us here at fredericksburg.com. Hope that you enjoy your time here. Take a look around after you're done watching this video. This of course is the online home of the Freelance Star, a wonderful group of folks, very happy to be partnered with them. After the show, click on that link over on the left hand side that says FLS Varsity. That'll take you to flsvarsity.com, an undertaking by the Freelance Star and their sports department focusing on area high school sports. To keep up with all of the very latest in the Fredericksburg area high school sports scene, you can log on to flsvarsity.com. You can also follow them on Twitter. They are at flsvarsity. And how about that for a coincidence? I have 2 of my very favorite folks from the FLS Varsity crew here with me this week. Back after a couple of weeks of hiatus, we have the assistant sports editor, Mr. Justin Rice. Justin, welcome back.
I was hiding out, but you guys seem to track me down.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we found you. We missed you. We really did.
Well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate
it. We also have one of my very favorite sports reporters, sports reporter extraordinaire. I've actually tagged him, and it seems to have stuck. We have Mr. Taft, Coghill Jr. Taft, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mark.
Well, fellas, have you had enough snow?
When the kids are begging to go to school, when they're saying, enough snow days, please, can we just go? Then you know there's been enough snow days.
It's one of those come on, man type situations,
come on,
right?
man.
Yeah,
exactly.
No doubt. It's, we've had enough. Well, the winter sports season is drawing to a close. That means that it's state tournament time, and we've got a couple of area schools that have placed teams in the basketball state tournaments, right? Exciting times for them. Let's start on the boys' side. In 6A, we have Colonial Forge, first time appearance in the state tournament, big win over Lansdowne last week.
Yeah, very big win for them to capture the region championship. You get into the state tournament with the win in that semifinal, but you want to go into it with some momentum. And they were able to not back into the state semifinals, but they were able to get there with a big victory over Lansdowne, 72-68.
Yeah, impressive.
They're the 3rd Stafford County team to make the state tournament. Of course, Mountain View has the 2 others, including last year and a couple years ago.
Right.
So I think the debate is then which of those 3 teams is the best one. Colonial Forge is 25-1, has a regional title, and in the old format, a region final win now is sort of the equivalent of a state quarterfinal win in the previous format. So who's better, this Eagles team or those 2 Mountain View teams? I think it's an interesting debate.
Justin jumping right back in and stirring the pot there. Yeah. I'm not sure that I want to tackle that one. It'll be interesting to find out. We kind of know what it is to make bold predictions or projections about teams this year. We'll have to see how Colonial Forge is able to fare in this state tournament.
But yeah, they had an excellent game against Lansdowne. Marco Haskins led them with 25 points. Winston Burgess came through with 18. And yeah, they have Lake Braddock up next, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Justin, what do we know about this Lake Braddock team?
Well, I think it's sort of interesting. Lake Braddock seems to me like maybe on paper they were actually the best team in the 6A North. They beat Woodson 3 times in the course of the season and then lost to them in the 4th time in the region championship game. So Woodson goes on to face Lansdowne, and Colonial Forge gets Lake Braddock. Lake Braddock is 23-4. Their losses are to Herndon, Annandale, McLean, and of course Woodson. And guard Will Grigoritz, I believe is how you pronounce it. That's the guy that's going to make things go for them.
Wow, that's something else to play a team 4 times, beat them only once, but that's enough to get you to that regional championship, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I think weirdly, I think it might mean that Lake Braddock was actually the best team from the 6A North, who maybe just got upset in the region final against Woodson.
And how does the saying go? It's hard to beat a good team 4 times,
3 times, something like that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, certainly a tough schedule ahead for Colonial Forge, but guess what? To win a state championship, you got to beat the best.
Yeah, and what they've done so far is quite impressive considering this is their first time on that stage. We talked about that a little bit last week.
Right.
They seem to respond very well to that, no nerves or anything. Guys like Haskins, and you mentioned those football players having that experience on the stage in the football season. That's obviously helping them right now. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Justin, so we were talking about last week, there's several football players that made a very deep run into that 6A playoffs for Forge during the football season that are on this basketball team. That kind of leadership, particularly from senior and upperclassmen types, has got to be beneficial to this Eagles team.
Well, leadership, and I think it just speaks to clearly Colonial Forge is putting out a group of has put out a group of athletes that is as good as anybody's senior class or older class in the state. You know, to have the same group of guys. You went that far in the state football tournament. You've gone that far in the state basketball tournament. We're going to get to track. We're going to talk about some Colonial Forge a little bit. You know, we could talk about some wrestling and some Colonial Forge.
Sure.
I think clearly Colonial Forge, among all the 6A schools in the state, I think Colonial Forge has a pretty strong argument as one of the better schools.
Right. Well, switching gears here just a little bit, but staying along that Colonial line, is there something about having the name Colonial in the name of your school for basketball in the area? Colonial Beach makes it into the 1A state tournament on the girls' side. Had a loss in their state in the 1A East championship, so maybe they've backed in a little bit, but this is another good team here. Yeah,
another good team, and what's been impressive with what Keith Dickerson's been able to do. I mean, they lost two 1,000-point scorers from last year, and Kanisha Fulcher and Carly Ensko, and you plug Sydney Curry and bring Billy Gold back, and I mean, you just got to give them a lot of credit to get all the way to this point with pretty much a rebuilding job. So.
Yeah, I saw Carrie in the conference tournament down in Lancaster, and you know she's a really strong ball player. It's Colonial Beach, and you think of it as one of the small schools in the area. I think Carrie is a player you look at who could plug in any of the area schools and certainly be a contributor, if not a starter. You know, she's a good ball handler, good scorer. Can get to the basket, and just a good player. And a good, if you have one piece to build around, that's a good one piece to have a guard and a ball handler type.
Yeah, no doubt, particularly in the postseason.
Absolutely.
She had a big game in their win against Surrey that got them into the state tournament, 13 points and 10 rebounds. Sydney Carey did. Billy Gold with a nice near triple-double there as well.
Yeah.
Emily Parks actually with another 12 points, so a nice production from her. They did lose to Alta Vista in the 1A East Championship, and now they've got Honaker coming up. What do we know about this Honaker team?
Well, I think like we talked about with Lake Braddock getting upset in the region final, I think there's a chance Honaker was the team that pulled off an upset in the region championship game. They played Chilhowie and won 40-30. Chilhowie is a team with a 22-game winning streak at the time. Honaker's 23-6. They get a 6-footer, Lakin Robinette, and they've got a nice guard in Megan Ray. So they have two nice pieces. I think the key for Colonial Beach is going to be they don't have any size. So if a team gets into a half-court game, they're going to be in trouble. But any team they play that doesn't have two ball handlers is likewise going to be in trouble because Colonial Beach is just going to get after you and press you and make you run up and down the floor. If you've got one ball handler, it's sort of easy to key in on that girl. You got to have two or three ball handlers. I think that's what we'll see if Honaker's got that on Saturday or not.
Sound fundamentals always come into play, particularly in the postseason. We see that at every level. Good ball handling, free throw shooting. That was a big deal for Colonial Forge. We didn't talk about that. Really impressive performance in both the semifinal and the finals of their 6A South, state 6A South tournament. Free throw shooting was just phenomenal. Those are the kinds of things, the little things, the practice time that you put into the gym during the off season that really paid dividends in the postseason.
Yeah. Though ironically, I wouldn't say sound fundamentals are a key for Colonial Beach, except for defense. They know they're going to turn the ball over. Some playing at a frantic pace. But they're going to make that other team turn the ball over too and make them uncomfortable. So, fundamentals, yeah.
In the sense of a team's game plan.
Yeah. Colonial Beach is happy to have 20 turnovers if the other team has 30 or 35 turnovers.
Right. Play that ugly game.
It's going to be quite a bus ride out there for them too.
Oh my goodness, yeah. UVA-wise, that's past Bristol. That is a trek. That is an absolute haul.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Colonial Forge has the trip back down to VCU to play in the Siegel Center.
Yeah.
So, exciting time certainly in the area in high school girls and boys basketball. We also have a state champion from the area, though. Faith Baptist in the ODAX Class 2A with a 55-48 win over Hermitage. A big victory for them. Emily Conroe, 44 points in that victory. That's a school record. and she was also the tournament MVP.
Emily Conroe is certainly a girl that knows how to score. She's put up points her entire career at Faith Baptist, and it's good to see her with another big game and obviously a school record that's certainly deserving. If you look at Faith Baptist's girls basketball history, Emily Conroe should be their single game scoring leader because she's the girl that's been scoring points for the last couple of years, and so they go out and win the ODAX, and that's a good mark for them again.
Yeah, excellent. Well, certainly congratulations to Emily and to the team there at Faith Baptist on their state championship. Well, there were a couple of teams from the area that also had pretty good performances in their regional championship tournaments. On the boys' side, we had Mountain View that had a tough loss in overtime.
Yeah, they take Broad Run to overtime, and again, it was the Lucas Brown show, and they knew going into that game. I know I had covered the previous game when they won their quarterfinal, and Coach Brown, he told me they anticipated a real tough game, and certainly they got it to overtime, and you get it to overtime, and you have maybe the best player on the court in Lucas Brown, and you got a shot, and they just can't get through.
Yeah. Chancellor with a disappointing loss as well on the boys' side.
Yeah, that was a pretty big disappointment for them when they had a 13, 15-point lead, something like that in the first half, and they allowed Dominion to get back in it. I think they got away from some of the things that they like to do. They like to press and they like to run, and I think Dominion was able to slow them down some in the second half and eke out a 50-48 win.
And then how about Culpeper?
Yeah, Culpeper ran up against George Wythe, J.T. Thompson, their head coach. He talked early in the season knowing that how tough it was going to be in that 3A East region when you have all those Richmond schools that had been traditional powers in AAA. His quote after the game was that if they had played that team on their best day, they still wouldn't have won. So they were more focused on celebrating and enjoying what they accomplished more than lamenting the loss to George Wythe.
And they've still got a pretty young team there, right?
They got a lot of pieces coming back. I wouldn't say they have a young team because some of the top players, when you look at Henry Butler and Adrian Struther, those guys are seniors.
Losing them.
Yeah, losing them. J.P. Gorby's a senior, very underrated rebounder, and did a lot of good things for them. But they do have some young players coming back that will, with those young players and just the tradition of that program, I'm sure they'll be back on track.
I think if you've got pieces in Conference 27, I think you can certainly be a contender. The question's always going to be, once you get out of Conference 27, you're going to get into the 3A East. And a lot of schools have benefited from realignment. I think Mountain View is one of those teams across a lot of sports. But then a lot of schools where the Richmond schools were playing up into AAA, and now those Richmond schools are playing in their natural conferences. I think the 3A East is going to be pretty tough in basketball. I think for all those guys, you're going to have to put together a strong team to get through that bracket.
Yeah. Well, you talk about a strong team on the girls' side. We've talked, it seems like, a lot this season about Colonial Forge. Certainly had a very strong girls' basketball team, but they really ran into a powerhouse of Cosby in that 6A tournament, 6A South tournament. And unfortunately, it was just not enough for them. They had to bow out.
Yeah, you're going to play. We talked about this with the boys. You're going to reach this level, and you're going to find good teams. And Colonial Forge, I think, sought out tough games during the Christmas tournament. Rolled through the Commonwealth District and Conference 4 and so on all season, and then you're going to get to the postseason. You're going to run into good teams, and I think that's how you can best summarize what happened to Colonial Forge. It's just at some point they ran into another good team that had a better night than the Eagles.
Yeah, and then the Chancellor girls also had just ran into a good team.
Yeah, they ran into William Fleming out of Roanoke, and they were missing one of their key pieces for the game. Chancellor was. I mean, they lost by 15, but they had a 15, 16-point per game score. Emily Green played 1 or 2 minutes and had to be removed. I think she was feeling ill. So when you take out a shooter like that out of a team that's not particularly deep, but they rely on 4 or 5 girls, and you take away a key piece like that, it's going to be tough in a regional playoff game.
Well, exciting times. We've got 2 teams from the area still alive in the state tournament. We'll be very excited to see how they perform over this coming week, and perhaps next week we'll be able to talk about a couple of state champions.
Well, it's exciting and it's fun and so on, but I think there's something to be said about the VHSL format and the stretching out. You have a 4-team state tournament, and we're going to stretch it out for 2 weeks. Get those kids in and let's play an early week semifinal and a Friday Saturday final. The 2-week stretch is just going to be interminable. I can't imagine that a basketball team has that much more to practice for and prepare. I'll bet even the coaches and the teams would probably be, the winners this week are going to be like, hey, can we just play? Let's go. But instead, you take this whole week off and you play, and you take all of next week off and then you play.
Yeah, you look at it, they have one less game than you had in previous years, and it's stretching into a whole other week because of that. Because they play 5 games to get to a state title as opposed to 6 now. So
yeah, I think it goes to a lot of the questions a lot of the coaches are asking themselves, not just in basketball, about the new format and what kind of changes you'll see next year. Is there going to be some tweaking to the football? I think if you certainly talk to wrestling coaches about how the wrestling state tournaments went, I think you'll see some coaches that would love to see some tweaking there. I think the basketball is one of those where, do we really need to make this a 2-week encounter when you're talking about 14 brackets?
Perhaps not.
Maybe.
Particularly when the travel is as far as it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That really, it becomes cost prohibitive then. Well, lots to discuss in the area basketball, and certainly enjoy doing that. Well, we have some area indoor track athletes who have earned state titles from this past season. Let's start in the 6A, where Colonial Forge high jumper Crystal Jones has earned the 6A state championship. She cleared 5 feet 6 inches.
Yeah, that's Jones's 3rd state championship. Actually, she's won 2 in outdoor in the high jump, and now she adds this one in indoor. The interesting thing with her and Amaya Curry from Stafford, they've gone back and forth now the last 2 years. Curry's been able to win the district and in the region last year, and the conference in the region this year, but Jones has been able to nip her both times for the state championship. So pretty nice win for her.
Jones has hit a 5.8 this year. Can Curry hit a 5.8?
Yeah, Curry hit 5.8 last week. She tied, so they're both tied for 4th in the nation in the high jump.
5.8. When did you last high jump 5.8?
No comment.
No
okay.
Comment, yeah.
It's been a while for me, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
5'6", no, not so much either. But
yeah.
Crystal Jones clearing 5'6" and winning the 6A state championship in the high jump from Colonial Forge. Congratulations to Crystal. A Brook Point shot putter, Joe Klein, earned the 5A championship, 54 feet 8 1/4 inches. We talked about Joe last week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty hefty little throw there.
That's a big number, 54.8. That's a big number.
Yeah. Yeah, he had been knocking on the door for a while. Last year, finishing all state, it was nice to see him break through there and get the state championship. So.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, congratulations to Joe. Moving to the 4A, Davian Hutt from King George. The 55 meters, he put up a nice time there, 6.47 seconds.
Yeah, another
6 minutes would have been my time.
Yeah, another nice win. Nice to see Davian break through there in the sprints. He's been another one for the last couple of years, kind of knocking on that door, and he broke through there in a big way in a 4A meet.
Yeah, excellent. Won himself a state championship there representing King George. So congratulations to Davian. And then finally from the 5A, we have the Varsity 360 Athlete of the Week. She is from Mountain View High School, where she is now the 5A state champion in the 55 meters, and she is Michaela Morton.
Yeah, first state championship for Michaela. She's another one. It's been around a while. Since she was a freshman, she's been in the mix, all state, all region, all district, all area, winning a lot of district and regional championships, and she finally broke through as well. So pretty big win for Michaela.
In her time, it wasn't just the best in the 5A, it was the best among the 6A athletes too. Mm-hmm. I mean, that makes her the fastest girl in Virginia, doesn't it?
Perhaps so. I don't know what the 4A and the 3A did, because you also have to take into account that some of those Tidewater schools are now down in the 4A and stuff like that. So perhaps we'd have to take a look and see.
She's certainly in the discussion though, right?
Yeah, definitely in the discussion.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, Michaela Morton, our Varsity 360 Athlete of the Week. Yeah. And also a state champion. I'm not sure which title. I wonder which title is more important to her. That we could ask her. Michaela, Athlete of the Week, isn't it? I'm sure. Congratulations on your state championship. Well, Justin, it's good to have you back again. Welcome back. We know that you are Mr. Wrestling in the area. In fact, you're getting all kinds of acknowledgments. You're just a local celebrity. Actually, one of my friends coined this term a web-lebrity, which is a web celebrity. You attended a lot of wrestling in the past couple of weeks. Any thoughts, any takeaways from that?
Well, I think, of course, the big takeaway, Mountain View and Colonial Forge both had great state meets in the 5A, 6A. Mountain View is second, Colonial Forge is second. And they both pushed, I think, in 6A, Robinson, on paper, looked like the obvious team that was going to win the title. I think Colonial Forge made it a little more exciting than you thought it might be. And the same thing with Mountain View in the 5A. once Matoka got there and the quality of their top guns, it was pretty clear they were a favorite. But I think Mountain View gave them a little push, at least up until the final round when Matoka's top athletes sort of pulled it away a little bit. But certainly those two teams were very competitive in the state. And then I think that the big takeaway, I think, especially for Colonial Forge, you look at this team, this year was second. Next year, the year after that, and the year after that, Josh Nail's a state champion. He's a sophomore. Mark Garofalo was third at 106. He's a freshman. Jeff Stone at 138 pounds. He's a junior. He's going to come back next year. Patrick Grayson is a state champion. He's coming back next year. Clay Smith wasn't a state champion, a state place winner this year. He's going to be back next year. Brody James didn't make the state tournament at heavyweight, but he's the kid they look at next year to be back. This is a team that's not just loaded for next year, but I think the next 2 and 3 years, you really got to look at Colonial Forge. Robinson has won 2 state championships now, back to back. 3 years ago, Colonial Forge was that team. They were clearly the best team, and Robinson was young and sort of pushed them a little bit, but Colonial Forge was the best team. Now Robinson has won 2 state titles with a bunch of seniors this year. Next year, Robinson's rebuilding. Colonial Forge got a lot of guns back. They're going to be really fun to watch, I think, next year.
Interesting. Very exciting times around the area. That's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Wrestling's it's a quality sport in this area, and I think especially with the growth of the club programs, not just in Stafford County but in Spotsylvania County, out in Culpeper, we're producing a lot of quality wrestling right now. And when you look at Eastern View as a team that competes in the 4A strongly, and of course Mountain View in the 5A, and Colonial Forge in the 6A, this is certainly, along with the Roanoke Christiansburg area and some of the Northern Virginia schools, this is certainly a hotbed area, I think, for wrestling.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that. Good stuff. Good stuff there. Yep. Well, exciting times around the area for the winter sports, but spring sports are going to come. Spring is almost here. Yes, spring is almost here. It doesn't feel like it.
Allegedly.
Spring is almost here. We spring forward. The time change comes up this weekend, I believe. Don't forget to change your batteries in your fire alarms, smoke detectors. But spring sports are very close. What's going around at the FLS Varsity Sports Desk preparing for these spring sports, perhaps?
Well, I think we're starting to, this is the time of year where we start to look ahead to the next season, start sort of fishing for information. The big change, of course, this year is girls lacrosse, coming to a Stafford High School near you, more lacrosse at the 2 spots at Riverbend and Massaponax as well. Lacrosse in a big way this year, so I think we'll see that. I'm sure these baseball and softball coaches, it's not just they need to get back into school to practice. You need some snow to melt off the field before you can get out there and practice. So I'm sure they're eager and willing, ready to get at it.
There's only so many ground balls you can take in the gymnasium to really prepare that, right?
Right. Sure enough, yeah.
Well, exciting time. Certainly appreciate that. Well, it would not be fair to go through this week's episode without mentioning one of the very biggest stories in the Fredericksburg area as it applies to sport and really as it applies to life. And that would be the passing of AJ Sly this past week. AJ, outstanding football player from North Stafford High School, had a couple of years at the college level as well, was diagnosed with leukemia and passed away this past week. Certainly has impacted really all the schools in the area. It's pretty amazing to see the community turn out in response to this. Sly Strong, this show is certainly Sly Strong, and we certainly support. Our prayers and thoughts go out to the Sly family. AJ was certainly known for, the recognition came because of his performance on the football field, but this was a really incredible young man, and the continued attention and love that has been shared for him and with him is nothing short of amazing, and is a response to just how special this kid was. I don't know about you guys, I didn't really have a chance to know AJ all that well. Had some social media interaction with him, some texting and Facebooking. And that was after he'd already been diagnosed with leukemia, and you could just tell, even through his words, how dedicated, how strong, and how positive he was as a young man, as a human being. It was clearly a special person.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us sometimes to know high school kids beyond just them as an athlete. We see them on the field, but I think clearly if you talk to the people, Joe Mangano and things like that at North Stafford who knew AJ well. I think clearly he's a person who was very close to them, and I think that probably reflects to the kind of person he was.
Yeah, no doubt. and certainly having impacts across the area. Saw some wonderful pictures of the high school students wearing the North Stafford orange and displaying the Sly Strong logo. This was a kid that touched a lot of other people, and will not be forgotten for a very long time. So there'll be some additional stories. I think Freelance Star is working on a feature piece on AJ. So looking forward to that. Certainly want to make sure that we don't let this week go by without acknowledging the passing of AJ Sly. Well, that's going to do it for this week's installment of Varsity 360. Certainly appreciate you watching. Hope that you have enjoyed it. As always, I appreciate the time to chat with the wonderful folks from FLS Varsity. Justin and Taft, thanks for joining. As always, it's great. Good to have you back. You're back on the island, and hopefully you'll be here for a while. Certainly, I hope you enjoyed your time away. And for the Virginia Varsity Sports Network, I'm Mark Coleman. Thanks for watching, everyone.